You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6 Show today, sponsored again by our friends at Match Bingo. Download the app right now and you receive 10 free Match Bingo cards each month until the end of the season. You have to be in the UK and over the age of 18. More on them a little bit later. Lots of stories to talk about today, with Kylian Mbappe announcing he will leave Paris Saint-Germain. Where will he go next? We'll be getting the panel's views and opinions as well. Neto looks as though he's going to be leaving Wolves. Where will he end up? Plus, we're previewing some of the big games this weekend, of course, headlined by Chelsea's visit to Manchester City. Can the Blues of West London upset the apple cart and the title race? We're delving into all that and much, much more. Smash the like button and make sure you're subscribing. We've got a brilliant, brilliant panel for you tonight. Backed by popular demand, Nina here representing Chelsea is back with us again. We haven't seen Man Like Tyre for a while, but he's been busy. He's always busy. This man works more than anyone I know, so he's here with us again. Staffy is on the show today. No fresh trim today. They've got the hat back on, bruv. Hair look good. Hair look good. We've got Kate on here, fresh from her Valentine's Day delights with her husband, Jimbo. He treated her. I heard. He told me. He said it was a good night. He said it's a good night. I don't know what that means. He told me. We've got Man Like Ram on the show, and JJ is with us as well, both representing Liverpool. And Rory will be on the show later. Rory Talks Arsenal will be here about 7 p.m. So stay with us. How is everyone? Everyone good? Everyone well?
Yeah, can't complain. Going into Friday tomorrow, innit?
Yeah.
Today's my Friday, though.
Okay, why's that?
Because Saturday mornings I have to take Freya to ballet, and Jackson has to go to football, so I have to go early. So I can't, and I like to have a drink one night a week. So like Thursday nights when I have my drink, because I don't have to get up early on Friday morning. So yeah, it's being a parent and being middle-aged like I am. Weekends are not your own. It's work and kids.
Good answer. Can't fault that one.
Yeah, that's it. It's boring, really. There's nothing exciting. Do you know what I mean? That happens in my life. It's just that. Although my daughter brought her boyfriend around the house today. She's 5. He wanted to come around to see her because he bought her a Valentine's card and got her a rose.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
I know, and he just, I know.
Good attitude, though, for a 5-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
I bought my daughter flowers for Valentine's Day yesterday, right? And she took the flowers out the vase just to put his one rose in it.
Oh, that is too cute.
No, it's not. I put her in the chokey. She's done for the day. Oh, honestly, it broke my heart. I looked at her and it doesn't matter, Daddy. She just went, "You're my daddy," and walked off. I was like, "Oh, great, thanks." So yes, there we go. That was Valentine's Day for me. Heartbreak and worry all at the same time. Speaking of heartbreak, my club, Man United, has had a torrid last 10 years, but new joint owners have come in. Plans of a new 90,000-seater stadium. Dan Ashworth agreeing to leave Newcastle and join Manchester United. A new CEO in place. Ty, it does appear at long last Manchester United are moving in the right direction to really create a solid and strong foundation for us to hopefully grow from.
Yeah, perfect, bro. Do you know what? It's a good time to be a Man United fan because, of course, obviously, we've wanted structure in place for a long time now. We've wanted the right people at the top, and it's taken a long time. But, you know, the conversation will always be about the manager, the star, the play. And at the end of the day, that's there. And the side of the business side is now. And I really like the way they're doing things, right? Because I've actually got told, just before we started the show, that Omar Barada is the one that's very keen on Jason Wilcox because they work together at City. They've maintained a good relationship outside since he's gone to Southampton. So that one is definitely concrete in terms of obviously Man United wanting Jason Wilcox. And I think in terms of, first of all, the stadium, people are going to say about the historic side of things. And I completely get that, right? Old Trafford's been there for years. We've had legacy moments, last minute winners. I'm not against that. I love Old Trafford, but I go to games, right? The stadium it's done, Terry, man. It's old. The Wi-Fi they've only just got this year. I couldn't believe when I walked in there and we had Wi-Fi. I was like, oh my God, it's 2024 now. And at the end of the day, for me, I feel like Manchester United need a new stadium. I feel like the new generation, our children's growing up today or whatever it is, our nephews, nieces, they don't know about Old Trafford like we do and people older than us. At the end of the day, for me, right, Old Trafford could be used as a place for the youth team or the females team as women's football is ever growing. And the new Manchester United ground could be for the men's team. And at the end of the day, how I look at it is, right, you look at Tottenham. I've got some friends down south that are Tottenham fans. Away teams that go there, Daps, for example, and others, they say it's the best ground in the country, right? And no disrespect to Tottenham, but this is Tottenham Football Club. It's not Man United. It's not Arsenal even. And it's not Liverpool, right? There's no reason why Manchester United can't have the best stadium in the country. That for me, if we're going to buy new players with this new infrastructure and the way we're trying to go, you walk around that stadium as a Man United future player and say, right, they show you, this is Old Trafford, by the way. This is where, the legacy moments are created. This is where the youth team will now play and the women's team. And then, by the way, we'll take you across the road and then they show you the new Wembley, as they've called it, the new Wembley of North. You're going to be like, wow, this is where I want to play. Because this is new generations now. This is where social media is so big. When players are getting told they were getting left out, that was it. Now you have to be very touchy with them because obviously how social media and stuff is. So I feel like in terms of a new stadium, I'm 100% for it. Whether people agree or not, that's your opinion. That's cool. But I want a new stadium. And now with the structure, finally, we're building the right roads in the town, because at the end of the day, Omar Barad is coming as a CEO. We know he's not been a CEO before, but he's been at Man City, a team that have delivered the treble, played brilliant football. And let's not forget, he worked at Barcelona as well. So he's always been upheld in his standards of the football he's seen. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Ten Hag in the future manager situation, but I'm hoping that in terms of the football on the pitch, they will also see us move in the right direction. You've got Dan Ashworth, proven at Brighton, and now he's gone to Newcastle and he's done his thing there. Now, I had people in my Twitter saying, oh, but he's inexperienced. What has he won? Now, at the end of the day, put that aside. Has Dan Ashworth expected to win anything at Brighton? No. Are you expected to win anything at Newcastle realistically? No, they've not won nothing in the last 30 years. So I'm not hearing the stuff about, oh, what's he won? I'm looking at what he's done and how them clubs have developed and improved.
Dan Ashworth's philosophy is about uniformed approach, and it's what Man United have lacked for a decade. People still don't realise that our first team football has on a consistent basis for the past decade not played the same brand as football as our under 21s and youth.
Exactly.
We don't even loan players to clubs that play a similar brand to our manager. Mm-hmm. And I heard Dan Ashworth, his job is to come in and make sure every single area of the footballing side of the business is pulling in the same direction, is essentially his role. And he is a master at that. He has done it with Team England. He has done it at Brighton, and he has started it at Newcastle. And he's leaving Newcastle, with all due respect to the Tsunami, for the biggest job in England, trying to fix the biggest club in England.
And imagine that, Terry, right? Imagine on your CV being the person that helps get Man United back to where it belongs. At the end of the day, we can talk about Rockefeller or New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox. Man United are one of the biggest teams in the world. And you have that on your CV, there's not much bigger than that. So for me, it's a perfect move for Dan Ashworth to come in at the right time when Man United is sorting out the hierarchy. Jason Wilcox potentially is maybe like the technical director. And then we're looking at obviously Yul from Brighton, who's the recruitment specialist there. So what I don't want Man United to do, and I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but Omar's there. You've got Dan Ashworth, and if you get Yul and then someone else next to him, of course, as well, Jason Wilcox, then you've got enough there. For me, 4 people is the right way to start building. What I don't want Ineos to do, and I'm just playing devil's advocate myself as a United fan, is we go out and we get too many people. Because at the end of the day, sometimes when you oversaturate things, might have egos, people might not work and gel together. Get them 4 in, and then the wheels can start turning on the car. Because at the end of the day, at the moment, we're a car. There's a Ferrari on the drive in terms of Man United, but we haven't got no wheels to take us anywhere. They are the 4 wheels. So for me, if we can get them guys in place, they can start doing their thing, implementing their philosophy and what they want to do throughout the club, like you said, and then we can go from there. So I just don't want Man United to get overexcited. I don't want fans to get over enthusiastic. Let's just get these 4 people in place and let them cook. I don't want us to go out and just keep bringing people in. Get the right people in and leave it at that 4. That's what my take would be on Man United.
I want to go to Nina on this. You've obviously had recently new owners come into your club. Are you seeing anything different in relation to what Man United are trying to do? Using sort of hindsight to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly that's happened in the last 18 months at Stamford Bridge?
What do you mean, in like a positive way?
Or negative? Like, how do you see it? Yeah, or how do you see it? Like, whichever way around, because United fans are a lot of them are infused, but maybe you have a different take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually agree with Ty's point about, I think we've oversaturated with how many people they brought into the club. And I think that's the first and the biggest problem there. You know, we wanted everyone from Brighton's backroom staff, basically, everyone that worked with Graham Potter at Brighton. We decided, yeah, you're coming in.
You pitched a few from Southampton as well, didn't you? A couple from there, didn't you?
Yeah, and we brought in sporting directors that, you know, okay, have good CVs, but were at Derby County, at Wigan before that. So, you know, we brought in too many people to do a job that was already too complicated. So I actually agree with Ty that, you know, too much sometimes is not so good. And I think Chelsea is at fault for that. So I think what the owners did is, because they wanted to build a name for themselves and basically strip everything that was left of Abramovich and basically start from a clean slate. They didn't want anyone, not a single staff member, not a single crumb or plate that was left from when Abramovich was at the club. So they basically did everything, including everyone that's on the pitch, you know, a new squad brought in, trying to build a new squad in basically 2 windows as well. So for me, I like what Ty says is very true. It's almost too much is actually is not good for the long run of things. So yeah, that's a problem so far at Chelsea, and we've seen that because these people, they're not given time to even gel. They leave, then new people come in, and it's just this whole repetitive thing. And actually, it's quite funny because earlier today it's come out that we want Brighton's head of recruitment.
The same guy, the
same guy, exactly. So I'm sitting there thinking, is there an actual plan here with who's coming into the club, and is there an actual vision for this, or is it just bringing in random people that have shown you that they've done a good job for a couple months and they could probably do a good job here? So yeah, I'm not completely buying into it.
Yeah, I agree with the oversaturating. I don't think you need. I mean, one of the things that's come out in the initial reporting from Ineos is that there's so many people at Man United that are going to be made redundant because they have a job they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of there, doing very little. And I think that's a really important thing, and that enables you to spread accountability too thin. You need certain roles to have responsibility, and it actually means something, and you've got an actual job to deliver, rather than that one bit of responsibility being delegated between 5 or 6 people. And I think one of the things Chelsea have got wrong in the last 18 months echoes of Man United's last decade. There's too many cooks spoiling the broth, and they're all seem, and you know your club's pulling in different directions when your manager is making Conor Gallagher captain, but your club are trying to sell him. It's like a key indicator, and United have done very similar things to that over the last decade. And I'm just hoping for a very uniformed approach, a very simplistic approach, and all these things I think will help get us back on track. The idea of the new. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that in some ways I see Man United and Chelsea in terms of how the clubs have been run in recent time, like quite similar, and exactly like what you said, Terry, there, that I think the sort of the owners and the managers' kind of priorities and visions for things have not been sort of in line, and they've been kind of separated in some ways. And you can't really run a club well if that happens. And, you know, like you mentioned there with Gallagher, there's been certain times where managers have wanted a player, they've had plans for a player, but, you know, Clear Lake, whatever, have not really. And I know Pochettino wants Gallagher to stay. He's actually pushing for that contract. If you asked owners, they want him gone because that's, you know, pure profit. You're looking at a clear sale there that we really need because of how much trouble we are in at the moment, and we need to generate player sales. So that's exactly telling you that the manager and the owners are not kind of seeing eye to eye, and that causes a problem.
Absolutely. Staffy, when it comes to new stadium, Dan Ashworth, what's your take on keeping Ten Hag? There's a lot of United fans, you know, with some wins recently, are saying he deserves one more year with a better structure and a better foundation and better recruiters. Do you agree that we should stick with Ten Hag for 12 more months based on that theory?
Based on what does he deserve it? Because he got me a win versus West Ham, Newport, and Aston Villa after conceding over 60 shots in 3 games. That's an average of 20 shots conceded per game. I don't think this has anything to do with Ineos and the project. Listen, if Ineos come in and they decide, well, they are here, but if the people that we just spoke about, all this hiring that we're trying to do, if they get together for the summer and they say, listen, the right thing for this project is to get another manager, I won't bat an eye. I'll be like, finally. And if they decide to keep him, which I highly doubt, I'll question it because that's who I am. I just have a big mouth and I like to talk a lot about the manager, but I'll be like, listen, fair enough. I can't say that I respect you guys and I respect your resumes and what you did. So if you see he's the right man, that he's probably going to be able to just manage and become a coach, because this is what he is at the end of the day. He's a manager for the team. So if he's just going to be able to focus on what's going on the pitch, and he's outside of recruiting and all that stuff that we've been complaining about since he came in and full saver transferred all that, then I'll understand his new role, that he's just purely there to put 11 players on the pitch, apply the tactics, train them and all that stuff. Then I'll give him a chance as that. But if you're asking me for my honest opinion, I don't think he deserves a chance. There's nothing that I've seen in the last few games that warrants him to get a second chance.
Why do you
I've
doubt?
seen him. Sorry.
Why do you doubt he will? Why do you doubt that United won't keep him?
Oh, like the Ineos and the new people coming in?
Yeah, Ineos. Yeah.
I just seen too many projects where people come in and they rehire everyone. If you're seeing them, if Sir Jim is coming in and he's changing the board members, and the board members are hiring new DOFs and new recruitment specialists and what's his name, the guy that we were just linked with today, the Southampton guy, that
Jason
worked with
Wilcox.
Jason Wilcox. If they're changing the whole structure, it's highly unlikely for me to see this manager stay as well, because they're bringing in their own people. Like if you notice, Sir Jim brought in his people from Ineos, and then they brought their own people. They're trying to get in Dan Ashworth. They all already got Omar Barada. Omar's trying to bring in Jason Wilcox. Everyone is bringing someone that they had experience working with. The only person who's there that no one had experience working with or hired is Dan Hag. So I highly doubt that he stays. I've seen too many new people come into football clubs and they try to like rebuild the club, whether it's the structure or whether it's the footballing foundation, or whatever. And one of the main things that they usually do is get a new manager. They're going to get a manager. Listen, even if Dan Hag is amazing, they could still get another manager, that's someone that they trust. They tried to get Graham
Same
Potter.
time, I'll play devil's advocate, Staffy, and they could keep him because they might look at what Ten Hag done at Ajax and say, look, he worked under a structure with Edwin van der Sar, Mark Overmars. He hasn't really had that at Man United. At the end of the day, for me, I look at it and we're 1-1 in seasons. The season we had last year was the season I was technically expecting this year. And I think the season has swapped round. This year we have regressed in terms of league position. We're out of the cups. We're still in the FA Cup. I thought it would be a progression from last year, but obviously it hasn't been. But they might look at it and say, look, it's 1-1 in seasons. We're going to give him a decider. Now we've got a structure in, because at the end of the day, right, before Ten Hag took the Man United job, no Man United fan was unhappy that Ten Hag took the Man United job. I would say 90% of the fan base wanted Ten Hag.
I agree.
10% probably wanted Pochettino. So they might see it and say, do you know what? Ten Hag has still got us lingering around top four. Yes, the football is not amazing, which I get, but the key players have come back in the last few weeks, and we've got 5 wins on the spin. Let's see what happens between now and the end of the season. And he might be on like a 6-month probation, but if the manager goes in the summer because they see him going in a new direction and they want to get their own guy in, cool. But if they keep him, I'm in the fan base where I'm more than happy to see him stay to the start of next season to Christmas to see what they can build on, because he's got a structure in place, hopefully, like you said, with the transfers. And at the end of the day, I don't think that, you know, if he won an FA Cup, for example, or got to a semi but got top 4, that warrants a sacking. A lot of people like Saeed and other people have said to me, but Ty, the performances ain't great. And I get that. And I completely understand that. But me as a Man United fan now, I'm in the realization, and I'm a realist, that, yo, the football is not going to get that much better between now and May. It's about getting the results. And at the end of the day, people say, oh, it was Newport. Oh, we played poor against them. The same people that would say that if we lost to Newport, they'll be slamming down his throat. So at the end of the day, you've got to beat who's in front of you. And we've won 5 in a row. And a big pause. Yeah, we've won 5 in a row. But at the end of the day, I think if he does get another season, I'm not fully against it. I think with a structure and everything, then people like Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, they've probably looked at Ten Hag at Ajax and thought, this guy is a very good manager of what he can do. So they might give him a chance.
And he's not alien to it as well. Like the stuff that he did with Ajax, obviously working with young players at the time, and also buying the very, very experienced players.
Type of thing, the angle they want to go down.
It can work out. As in, it could work out in the fact that is a good meshing of both Dan Ashworth and Erik ten Hag working together. Like, it's not beyond the realm.
And do you know what our biggest question is, Rams, right? Is that we sit here and talk like there's managers that are ready to come in and just smash it. For me, Liverpool are looking for a new manager. Barcelona are going to be looking for a new manager. Bayern might get rid of Tuchel. They're looking for a new manager. But no team that's going to get a manager, we can all sit here and agree totally that, yeah, they're going to come in and 100% cook. Hansi Flick worked at Bayern and won the treble, went to Germany, done nothing. People are talking about Hansi Flick. I would still look at him and think, how's it going to work with him? Thomas Tuchel, another one. Jose Mourinho potentially out of a job, another one. Julian Nagelsmann went to Bayern, got sacked. Another one with question marks. Whatever manager teams get in the future, everyone's going to be talking on podcasts in the summer, Terry, about is it going to work there? Is it the right fit? So right now, there's no clear manager that you can go and get that I'd come at Man United and say, yeah, it's 100% going to work. They've all got question marks, bro.
Yeah, but that's not enough to warrant him. Listen, at the end of the day, I was just giving my opinion what I think is going to
happen. No, bro.
Not per se what I want to. I hear you, but that reasoning.
Guys.
I'm just debating you, Staffy.
That reasoning for me, the management shuffle that's going to happen this summer, it's actually not a reason for me to say, okay, let's keep him, because this is basically the logic, like, oh, let's stick to what we know instead of going for the unknown. But I'll tell you something, some of this unknown is going to work. We just don't know who it's going to be. And some of this unknown is absolutely going to be a bust whenever they go to what clubs. So I kind of hear that as well.
My view on it is, sorry, Staffy, is this. I get where you're coming from, Staffy. I personally think I think if we want to improve, I think we need to remove him along with a lot of people, irrespective of how good or bad they are. They've been tarnished by the old regime. However, if the one or two targets we have out there that we genuinely think are going to improve us in a big way are not available yet, then I'm not against keeping him for a year as long as the dressing room isn't toxic. I don't just want to bring somebody else in that the new ownership and decision makers think, oh, we'll do an okay job. I don't want okay. I don't want he's okay for right now. I want someone, if we're going to replace him, for Omar Barada and for Dan Ashworth to genuinely look at the guy and think this individual is taking us to that next level over the next few years. So I want us to be mindful of that, because too many times in the past decade, whether it's players or managers, we've had stupid knee-jerk reactions just to fill a hole. And I feel like we've regretted it on so many occasions. So I just want us to make sure we're making the right decision. But viewers, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel. Yeah, go on, bro.
Question. Why, just from a United perspective, why are you guys so, as a whole, optimistic and excited by the fact that 25% of Ineos are going to go and override the 75%?
I can tell you,
still remaining.
I can tell you. So it's not quite as it seems. So first of all, the Glazers don't own 75%. They own around 60. There was about 69% they owned, and a lot of that has been taken up by Sir Jim, because some of the percentage is publicly owned on the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe for 25% is the biggest shareholder at the club. The Glazers individually all have less than him now, and a lot of the Glazers are actually more on the side of Sir Jim with what he wants to do with the football club. So the Glazers are not always in unison with one another anyway. Does that make sense? He's also about to pump 300 million euros into the club, and his percentage when he does that will rise to 29%. So he isn't a majority shareholder. I don't think you can officially class him as that, but he's the biggest shareholder in the club. But part of the deal, part of the purchase agreement, has enabled him to bring in his own CEO. The CEO is going to have a lot of power to run the club. And it's the Ineos group that are now making all of these decisions. And that was always what I expected to be the case. No one's going to put 1.3 billion in and set a timeline up to put more money in to buy more shares without having the element of control. Does that make sense? So far with what we have seen, Sir Jim has, although he doesn't have the majority shareholding, he does have control over running the operation. And for me, that's why I think there's optimism, mate.
Do you think that his inexperience in football will hinder you guys? Because look, Dan Ashworth, I know we speak about him, and you know he's done well at Brighton, and you could argue at, well, I've got my own opinions on Newcastle, done well at Brighton, but you look at Newcastle were in a position where, you know, they had a lot of money, technically had new owners, and they could go and spend, and they spent relatively well, I guess. But their biggest issue was offloading players, and they weren't able to go and do that. Now at United, you've always been able to go and get players. It's the other side of the business, and I think the sale of players is going to be even more important than will be the purchasing of. And I think that's where you know Dan Ashworth is great, but it's easy to be Brighton and buy Caicedo for 7 million when no one wants him. When you're United, and United go for a player for 7 million, automatically that player's worth 27 million because United are going for him, and now you're in a different situation. I agree, especially with FFP.
I totally agree. Again, where the positivity will come in from United fans, and I wouldn't expect you to have read these stories, but some of the articles that have come out about other clubs' relationships with the likes of Ed Woodward, with the likes of Myrtle, with the likes of Richard Arnold have been horrendous. These are a bunch of accountants and bankers and marketers who until they were promoted after Fergie left, had no real experience in football. They essentially, and I'm kind of paraphrasing these articles, but they would walk into these rooms thinking they were the dog's bollocks, like they were a bunch of cardboard cutout gangsters thinking that we're Man United, we can do what we want. And their reputation and respect in the industry, not so much John Myrtle, but more Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward, was absolutely horrendous. That, according to a lot of the inside sources, has been one of our biggest issues, is there was very little respect for the people running that operation. So I agree. So Jim has very little experience of running a club of this magnitude, but what he has gone and done, it's like if I went and bought a restaurant tomorrow and tried to run it, it's failing. But if I went and employed Jamie Oliver to be the head chef, I'm pretty confident it's going to make some good food at the very least, because that's what we're trying to do. We're going out and trying to get some of the best in class available to run specific areas who have got great reputations in the game. That for me is why I feel confident, because even under the Glazers, when Sir Alex and David Gill were running the club, we were one of the most successful teams in the world. It's as soon as we had accountants and bankers running the club and making football decisions with no education in the game, that's when we started to fall apart. And a lot of United fans, a lot of rivals always, there's a thing that was an article produced today that Man United have spent the most amount of money and create their current squad is the most expensive ever assembled in football. But look at the state of it. And most Man United fans have never complained about the money we spend. We've complained at how much we've wasted it, how poorly we've sold players. But the people that we're now bringing in, they for me, they have a pedigree in this industry, which we've lacked for a decade. So that's why, and it's what I've been asking for. So for me, everything we're doing right now is what I've been screaming. Every time I've been on a show where it's manager in, manager out, I've said, who gives a shit, really? What we should be focusing on is these decisions now. We need proper people running the club, because until this happened, it didn't matter who the manager was, they were going to fail. So for me, as a United fan, this is the happiest I've been in a decade, because I think we're genuinely moving in the right direction with that foundation.
Terry, am I right in thinking he's not coming in for a year?
No. Well, you are and you're not. There is a non-compete clause within his contract, but he had exactly the same one when Newcastle got him. Man United will end up paying compensation and he'll be relinquished from it. And most clubs at that level, they tend to get on with each other. So there'll be, I've read somewhere it'll be about £3 to £3.5 million will be paid in compensation, and then they'll write essentially a permission letter for him to leave and join the club. So yeah, I doubt they'll make him go on gardening leave for 12 months personally. That's my view. But viewers, I'd love to know what you think. Oral Campbell says, tell you about these entitled United fans. One thing doesn't go their way, get rid of the manager, like the millions of lessons since Fergie never learnt. Staffy, you respond to that. I think it's more aimed at you than me. But
tell you about these entitled United fans. One thing doesn't go their way and get rid of the manager. Like the millions of lessons since Fergie never learned. I don't know what do you mean one thing. I definitely seen more than one thing before I said manager out. And if you follow the Football Terrace closely, you would know that I was one of Ten Hag's biggest advocates last season. You remember that, Terry? I used to pick him up pretty much all the way. Even when we went through a rough run towards the end of the season, I pretty much made every excuse for him, and I backed him all the way. I stopped backing him after a sequence of events. And Terry, you remember my exact words. Mine started with the Mason Mount signing. I said, this is strike one for me. But that just shows you that I allowed a few more mistakes until I finally made my mind. I was like, you know what? I don't think he's the right man. So I don't think it's one mistake or whatever it was that Superchat said. But thank you for the super chat, Terry. Really appreciate it.
I think that's a big thing that Staffy mentioned. I think you could talk about the stadium, you could talk about everything, but the one thing that United need to fix up on is the transfer market, because some of the transfer dealings that you guys have done is not up to the level. And like we talk about Chelsea, when they've signed whoever they signed, like Madueke, Mudryk, players like that, there's a lot of hype going into them. But obviously, it turns out that those players just don't work in the system because there's just no real cohesion behind the scenes at Chelsea. And when it comes to United, what they're notoriously done in the last 10 years, along with the fact that they just haven't been sorting out what's going on behind the scenes, they haven't been buying right in the market. Like a lot of the signings that they made, most of them are flops rather than successes. And I think that's probably step one that Ineos, and if Dan Ashworth does come, they need to sort out as soon as possible, and ideally in the summer of 2024, in my opinion.
Well, you don't sort out the market until you sort out what kind of football you're trying to play.
Yeah.
Because like if I don't know if Terry says he's cooking dinner tonight and I don't know what he's trying to cook, I can't get him the right ingredients. He's just gonna be like, I'm making dinner. I don't know what it is. Is it Italian? Is it?
It's like the wine. Exactly. If you don't know what I'm making, you don't know what wine to bring to my house. And if you bring me white wine when we're having red meat, I'm gonna smack you in the head. Do you know what I mean, you Philistine? Simple as that. But no, I hear it. And there's a question here for you, Liverpool fans. How do you Liverpool fans feel about the rebirth? I think they're salty. I think they're salty. I think they're scared.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nothing's really like. I need to see some foundations put in place first, and there needs to be some level of work in the background before you can get like.
Jerry, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jerry. You're probably the best looking man on football YouTube. You are. Like, you're stunning looking these. Like my missus has been in the same room as you, and I was proper jealous of the first time in my life. But you look miserable today. You're not showing off those good looks, and I can tell it's because you're
good.
getting better.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm jet lagged from coming back from NY. I literally come back from NY 10 hours ago. So I'm still trying to get my sleeping pattern correct. But now, if I'm being honest, like it sounds good, like it sounds optimistic. I get it, but are United getting the best in class in those areas? That's the question.
And just
to add, the best in class. Is the manager that I mean? Is Ten Hag right now? If he's the current manager right now, is he the best in class? No. So
just to add on, JJ,
these foundations are put into place. It sounds all well and good, but it's just an idea, isn't it? It's an idea of we've got new owners and they're going to do this.
Which is why I'm not getting that excited.
Exactly. That's why I heard what Staffy was saying. Is that we've got to just wait until
We're also talking from experience because JJ and I can both attest. We had the same things said about Damien Comolli when he first came to Liverpool, when FSG first came in. The new style of everything, data-driven players, and he flopped badly. And then we had someone else after that, then Michael Edwards. So it does sound good all on paper, but
the idea is good, Ram.
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to take time. I think we're just excited about that. This super chat here says, Staffy, what's the definition of insanity? United have been in the same situation so many times that sacking managers is papering the cracks. At what point are we going to stop blaming the managers?
When did I blame the manager? This is what I'm saying. Like, I appreciate the super chats, but like, at least be correct. We just sat here for how many months and how many years saying, don't sack the managers, paper over the cracks, get a new structure. We spent about, how long have we been on? 30 minutes talking about a new structure. And then you're telling me we're papering over the cracks. We're only changing the manager. Brother, we just explained new ownership, not full ownership, but new ownership coming in with a new organization and hiring new people. It's going spiral down. So all the way from the top down. As I'm saying, if they end up choosing to change the manager, you already changed the DOF, you already changed the board members, you're changing everything in sight. We were even changing the what's the guy that was with the medical team? I forgot his name. Even the medical team is being changed. I need the cook being changed too, because that 1 out of 4 chicken needs to go as well. So if everything changes, and they're even talking about a new stadium, so you're pretty much telling me everything changed. But then you're saying if the manager leaves his paper over the cracks, brother, it's new people now making these decisions. So whoever, let's say hypothetically, Ten Hag leaves and we get a new manager, this manager is going to be hired based on new credentials than the past. You know why? Because the people who are hiring are no longer the Glazers, are no longer Murto, are no longer any of the people that were here. So how can you say it's paper over the cracks when the structure just changed? It just made no sense.
No, I agree on that.
Question? Can I ask?
Yeah, always.
To all the Man United fans, I'm just really intrigued to see if you guys are on the same page with this. Like, what would you guys consider a good season, or like, what would you guys be happy with Man United achieving this season? And like, are you all on the same page with that?
Top 4 for me. If we got top 4, obviously it gets us back in the Champions League, and then at the end of the day, like Staffy said, whether the manager stays or not, depending on the board, that's up to them. But I would think that was a good season in terms of, obviously, we're out of the Champions League, so I can't talk about winning that. FA Cup, I would like us to reach the final, but if we do draw a Man City, Nina, then, of course, it's hypothetical. We don't really say we're going to beat Man City because they're the best team in the world right now. But yeah, if we finish top 4 from the position we've been in and the ridicule we've got this season, the pressure on Ten Hag, the injuries we've had, yeah, I think top 4 would be a very good success for now.
Yeah, I think Sir Jim and co should be pushing for top 4 from this point. It's salvaging something because you have no idea how good you're going to be next year. I'm not saying we're going to be good enough to win the Premier League next year, but if you're in the Champions League and you improve, last year you would never have said Liverpool were good enough to win the Premier League or Champions League. If Liverpool this season were in the Champions League, they'd have a chance of winning it because they look excellent again. So, yeah, I want us to be in the Champions League next year, and I want us to go far in the FA Cup. And I think that we have to start push those types of standards about improving output, results, etc. That starts now. You don't need to wait until the summer for that to begin. So, at the very least, from this point, with the position we're in, like I would like us to go. Like, as a minimum expectation, still, I'd like us to go and do that. Now, that doesn't mean I think we should stick with the manager per se, but I don't want us to just write the season off and say I don't really care what happens. I don't think that attitude's the right one.
No, at the end of the day, right, we've put ourselves in a position now where these players are going out on that pitch with something to still fight for. 5 points off Spurs, I think, or 5 points off Villa, 6 points off Spurs. At the end of the day, right, we've got Luton away, we've got Fulham at home, then we've got the City game, and then we've got Everton and Sheffield United at home. For me, that should be 4 wins out of 5. Football's not played on paper, and I get that. But with some of the key players back right now and the groove we're on, which is the best we've had this season, there's no reason why I don't think we can put pressure on the Villa and Spurs between now and the end of the season. It's all on us, Nina. Like, Man United they control their own destiny. We make our own mistakes. We play the way we play. Do you know what I mean? If we
don't tell me that. I know.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
And fifth place is probably going to get Champions League spot. Looking at the current rankings that came out yesterday,
that's the mentality I don't want to have, Terry.
No. But if you're fighting for fourth and end up fifth, you may still get that little bit of fortune. And I know that's not a successful season in the sense of, yes, let's celebrate, but it puts you in the biggest cup competition in the world the following season. And if you have a really good summer, hire that manager that Staffy wants, we might even see Staffy smile a few times. You know what I mean? It'd be amazing.
I just find it amazing.
I have a dream for Staffy to smile.
You know what it is? I just find it amazing. People were talking about finishing top 4, finishing in Europe. Bro, we just finished last place in our group. Like, why do you want to go there again? Like, what's the goal of going to Europe when we can't even get past the group stages?
Wait. You're a Man United fan, but Staffy, you're a Man United fan. Why would you not want to finish in the top 4? No matter, forget what we've done this year in the Champions League. Forget what we might do next year in it. You're a Man United fan, so why would you not want to finish in the top 4? It's like you're
It's not that I don't want.
You know what? No. We're good enough for 5th, 6th. Cool.
It's not that I don't want to be in top 4. I just know we might scumbag our way to top 4 again. And I know that doesn't lead on to anything sustainable. You end up being in the same spot that you are this season. That's why.
So Staffy, Staffy, let me ask you a question based on what I said, right? So if we have a really good summer, say we bring in a manager that you rate, whoever give me a name of a manager that you'd be excited about us bringing in. You must have one top of your mind.
The managers that I don't want are kind of not realistic.
Okay, so but give me one that you go, okay, this could be good. Give me a name. Just to be
based on who's available, or who do I rate? Because I wanted Simeone for a while, but like we'll never get him.
Okay, so the best available that you rate, who is it? Who's that person?
Let's use an example. Let's just use the Zerbi because a lot of people want.
Okay, so say the Zerbi, you've used him. Say we bring the Zerbi in, and we sign 3 or 4 top quality players. Towards now, in the end of the season, we start to improve. We have a brilliant preseason. We start the season well, and we're looking good. Would you rather be in the Champions League at that stage or out of the Champions League at that stage?
But if we get top 4, no one is asking for this manager to get sacked. I heard people saying now that we won 5 games in a row or whatever, he's not going to get sacked.
Okay, so your view is if we make top 4, we might not sack the manager, therefore you don't want it.
I just know, like, if we get top 4, but we scumbag our way and then we keep the manager, it's nothing to fill me with confidence. I know I'll be here again.
But that's what Terry's saying. But that you didn't really say that in your first point. That's what me and Terry were looking at it like you're saying. There's no point finishing top 4 because what we done this year in the Champions League would probably happen again next year. But
because I know nothing will change. That's what I'm trying to say. If we finish top 4,
you believe the manager stays.
Well, exactly, and I feel like we're going to be in the spot again next year because the goalpost has shifted massively this season. And I don't even speak about that. I'm usually one of the first people when I get something wrong, people will attack me right away. But when I sat here and said this team is not good enough to compete, everyone has forgotten about that, and everyone now is saying, "Well, we got to salvage the season, finish top 4." Hold on a minute. You told me in the summer that we'll be good enough to compete. Yeah, now I'm supposed to switch my standards to people saying, "Oh, well, let's try to salvage the season."
Steph, it's not about your seasons, about how you view things. So, for instance, salvaging the season for me isn't about saving this manager. Salvaging this season is because I believe at this moment in time, I think even if we make the top 4, this ownership is going to move the manager on. I disagree with you. Yeah,
If
okay,
I'm
cool.
guaranteed that this manager is
that's
leaving,
fine. Staffy, let me just
trust
finish.
me.
So me and you again. So you disagree with what the ownership will do if we qualify for top 4. You don't actually agree. You don't disagree with my logic, though, that qualifying for the Champions League, if my way works, surely being in the Champions League is better. I also agree with you. If we're not going to get rid of this manager, I kind of would like us to fail a bit so we sack him because I think we need to move on from him. But yeah, I get
if we have a manager coming in and it's announced early, like in the summer, United are hiring XYZ, whoever it is. I'll trust me. You want me to smile, Terry? I'll be happy for the rest of the season. Because every game I'll approach it knowing that this guy's not here.
You're forgetting how time works. That will happen. You'll smile, then you'll go, "Oh no!" But we're not in the Champions League. I want to be like. So I kind of think we should be in it.
Yeah, I'm a Man United fan. I want us to finish as high as possible.
You didn't hear what I said.
I want us to finish. You know what? I want us to finish high as possible, irresponsible of the manager situation.
I want to move on to a few other talking points. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe today has formally told. I mean, we all knew this, but he's formally told Paris Saint-Germain that he will be leaving this summer on a free. How have they allowed him to leave on a free? It's absolutely comical. It really, really is. But he's going to be leaving. Real Madrid is where everybody thinks he's going to go. There are Premier League clubs in Liverpool and Arsenal that are looking at him. Should the Premier League clubs be bending over backwards, looking to break every record imaginable to try and bring this man to the Premier League, to improve their team first and foremost, to go head-to-head with Haaland? Or should they just step aside because it's most likely for him to go to Real Madrid? What should the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, City even, what should they be doing with Kylian Mbappe?
Do whatever you can to sign it.
I mean, it would be silly just to step away. You have to entertain the idea of getting one of the best players in the world to your club if you consider yourself one of the best teams. Whether that's feasible is another question, but I guess you have to entertain the idea of Mbappe come to the Premier League, because I think that would just be a really, really good narrative to have just as a neutral. Mbappe versus Haaland, Arsenal, Liverpool, whoever it might be. Do you know what I mean? Against City in this new era. I think it will be really, really good, especially speaking from a Liverpool perspective. Is it going to happen? No. I mean, it makes it easier. You're not going to have to pay PSG, but how much are you paying him wages-wise? How does that unsettle the dressing room in regards to obviously parity with wages paid, and that's a whole nother level. And I don't think the Premier League's ever signed a superstar of the level of Mbappe. Do you know what I mean? At the heights he's in, and trying to get him into their league. So it'll be interesting to see. But look, you've got to entertain it. Is it going to happen? I highly doubt it.
I think it's feasible for a club in the Premier League to do it. Either Liverpool or Arsenal doing it. Because one thing that Kylian Mbappe is, he's a confident guy. I think he would buy into the narrative of him versus Haaland. That's literally the Ballon d'Or fight right there between the both of them. It'll be the new Messi Ronaldo. And I think you want to be a part of that. And it is feasible for either Arsenal or Liverpool to go out and try and sign the guy because because people say like he's going to be asking £1 million a week. Apparently Real Madrid are offering lower wages, but the money you can get from just shirt sales alone with this guy, with the size of Liverpool and Arsenal, because let's be honest, people buy PSG shirts because it just looks good. It's not because of the club or the stature. It's the fact that it has Jordan on it. Let's be honest. But when it comes to Liverpool, Arsenal, the gravitas of both those clubs and the heritage, like if you put Arsenal, Mbappe 14, replicate Thierry Henry.
Well, that means you got to get rid of him. That means, hang on, but what about little Nketiah? What are you going to do about him?
I don't care about him. I don't care. I don't care. But if you get, say, if Salah ends up leaving Liverpool this season, Mbappe 11, like the marketing, everything, the money you can get from shirt sales of this guy alone would be astronomical.
Just to add some fuel to this fire, Fabrizio has just tweeted that Real Madrid's fixed salary proposal for Kylian Mbappe is way lower than what they offered him in the summer of 2022, and is also lower, considerably lower than his current salary. Real Madrid want Mbappe to join the club at their conditions after spending years on this saga. Contract proposal is already in Kylian's hands. So even if he joins Real
rightly
Madrid,
so, Terry, and rightly so.
and even if he joins Real Madrid, it's likely he's going to be on less money than he's earning right now at Paris Saint-Germain. So this idea of £1 million a week, I think everybody can just forget. It's not going to be as high as that. It's not going to be. Paris Saint-Germain are doing that. And a lot of that money wasn't even paid by Paris Saint-Germain. It was paid via Qatar, in the same way that they got Neymar to the club. It's all done via they become like an ambassador and an endorser of the country. Yeah. How do I know this? I spent a month in Qatar and their faces were everywhere. They were on like the weirdest billboards. Their faces are just there. And it's obvious that Qatar has the image rights of these individuals. That's how they're getting that money. They're not going to earn that at other clubs. So, but Nina,
the wages. The wages, Terry. Look, that's fine. The wages can be considerably lower. They're just going to go and pay you a lump sum somehow. Do you know what I mean? As a signing on fee, and that's just going to go and make up for it. Real Madrid are obviously going to try and, especially in front of the media, portray that they're in control of the situation when they know in actual reality they're desperate for a striker and they need Mbappe to complete this new look Galacticos. The only way I see a deal like this happening, especially for the Premier League, is the Premier League would have to somehow endorse it. They would have to go and be like, we want Mbappe in the Premier League because it's going to help the Premier League brand. And we're going to go and try and do as much as we can to alleviate the stresses of FFP and targeting. And I don't think the Premier League are going to do that right now.
Oh, they'll do it 100%, JJ. They will do it. The marketing for the Premier League.
Go on.
The marketing for the Premier League, Haaland versus Mbappe, that's all what the Premier League wants. The amount of viewing figures that they can get, that is all what the Premier League wants. And having both the two of the best young players, or arguably the best players in the world, coming to the Premier League, it will just bring so many viewership.
That's my point. The only way I see it being done, but that's my point. The only way I see it being done is if the Premier League are like to someone, look, we need to have the equivalent of Messi and Ronaldo in the league or in the Premier League now. United or Arsenal or whoever we want, Liverpool, here you go. Like we'll give that a bly. You can go and do this. We'll put this under the books so that we can go and prosper as a league. I just don't see that happening with how FFP is moving currently, though.
Imagine that there. Mbappe versus Haaland versus Højlund. What a trio! What
versus
a
Nunes,
trio! Yeah, Nunes. What a trio! Nina,
and you added Nunes into there as well. Shame,
JJ, man. Why would you need Nunes when Mbappe is already at Liverpool, man?
Nina, you kind of
speak for yourself, man.
Nina, you kind of said something to Ram a few minutes ago. You said, how is it feasible? Expand on that for us.
I just don't think it's feasible. And I know you talk about what the Premier League wants, but I think it's important to take into consideration what Mbappe wants. And I think he wants this move and he's wanted it for years now. And, the whole appeal to it, you can come to a Premier League club and, you can play European football, of course. It's obvious and evident that the whole Champions League dream at PSG has flopped for him. He's going to want to go and join, the kings of the Champions League, playing alongside the likes of Bellingham and your Vinnies, who are absolutely blowing it up there. And Real Madrid will make it happen. I'm almost absolutely certain. They've had that contract basically in print for the last how many years? It's been their longest pursuit. I just don't see how it happens that a Premier League club comes in. And, like Terry said, you have to bend over literally for this to happen. And with clubs like refining wage structures and stuff, it just doesn't really make sense financially for me. And if that does happen, though, I know the Premier League, and I think that it's obviously already like the best league in the world, but you are talking about elevating it massively, big time with that happening, because you've got, like you said, your new Messi, Ronaldo literally playing in one league. And yeah, but from a club that probably won't, if he was to come to a Premier League club, which I obviously know it wouldn't be Chelsea if he did. For me, saying that with bias there, I just would not want to be in the position of having to face Mbappe and a Haaland.
You don't think he wants to...
I'm with Nina, to be honest. I'm with Nina. I think when you look at Real Madrid and what they've done, this is the final tick in the box for revolutionising their club for the next 5, 7 to 10 years. We're talking
And they've
Bellingham.
already done a really good job at making it a smooth transition with like how smooth they have done things with obviously like players like Cruz and Modric coming to the end of it, and they've got the likes of
to the end
the best midfield.
And the Valverde's in midfield. You got Camavinga. When you look at it, you've got Endrick that's joining like basically in the summer anyway, and then you've got obviously Bellingham already. You've got Rodrigo. You got Vinicius, and let me be real with you, right? 2 years ago, if you told me Rodrigo was going to be the player he is now, I would have had questions because I was looking at Rodrigo and looking at him like a Lucas Vazquez. Are you really going to cut it at Real Madrid? Are you going to be a bit part player, utility man? But Rodrigo has actually stepped up so much in the last 12 months, right? That all of a sudden, that's why Real Madrid are now bargaining the chip with him and saying, look, we're not going to offer you the wages that we could do 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they did not have Jude Bellingham at the football club. And what's happened is now is that since the time that they were really serious about Mbappe, Bellingham and Rodrigo stepped up so much that Real Madrid, yes, they do need Mbappe, but the need of 2 years ago is not the need of today. And that's why if Mbappe wants to go there, he needs to reduce his wages because at the end of the day, Real Madrid are like, look, we have actually coped without you. We want you, but you need to want us as well. And then we need to meet in the middle. So actually, Bellingham joining and Rodrigo stepping up in the last 12 months has actually helped Real Madrid now, I believe, in these contract negotiations personally.
Yeah.
Can I just add that if Salah leaves, Thiago's definitely leaving. We'll have about £500,000.
There is no way.
Nah, you'll go for Pedro Neto, mate.
I know you're saying if you're saying that, why wouldn't these clubs go in for them? Because obviously Terry asked the question saying, "Oh, should the Premier League go for these clubs?" Then, if you're saying it's feasible, then why wouldn't the clubs go for them then?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the clubs won't do it. Clubs are, and we, the fans, as a collective, are the problem here. We don't like the idea of being rejected. We all do this at some stage. We all flock to that journalist. Spurs fans have Alistair Gold. Chelsea fans, it might be Kinsella, it might be Matt Law. For United, it's the likes of Simon Stone. Liverpool, well, it used to be what's his name, but no one likes him anymore. What's his face? Short guy.
James Pitts. James Pitts.
Yeah. We all flock to her, but I'm not too sure where Arsenal's is anymore. We flock to and go, well, we need that journalist to say that we were never in for that player, even though every other journalist and outlet in the world has said you made inquiries and you spoke to him personally. We are all, and our clubs have followed suit. We're so desperate to not have the word rejected put anywhere near our name. It's actually quite pathetic in many ways. Oh no, it's not an official bid. It was it was a text message on WhatsApp. It's still a damn bid, bruv. Like, let's just stop it with all these layers to it. If two CEOs are talking and they say, oh, look, with a £60 million offer work, and the opposing CEO says no, it's still not enough. That's a rejected bid in every other walk of life. So that's why some clubs won't want to go in, or they won't want to go in to a certain degree, because they don't want the newspaper articles to say Arsenal made an offer, but he said no, because there's too many people sensitive connected when it comes to Arsenal being rejected. People can't handle the word rejection. And that's not surprising in this weird online world we live in, especially the men. It's more the men than the women. Like these people that live in their bedrooms can't take rejection. It's why they're in their bedrooms. Do you know what I mean?
We're forgetting the FFP thing as well. I mean, I just think it's madness for anybody to think that a Premier League club is going to sign Mbappe, and the whole fallacy of shirt sales. They earn such a small amount from shirt sales. It's like 7.5% of every shirt, which when you add it up, yeah, it's millions, but it's not in the grand scheme of things. I think it's such a fallacy. People say, oh, but you'll earn it back in shirt sales. No, you won't. You won't. And the FFP, clubs are on the borderline of FFP. Everybody can see it. The transfer window in January was so quiet, and yet all of a sudden Liverpool and Arsenal are going to buy Mbappe. It's absolutely laughable. I'm sorry.
That's my point. That's my point, Kate. It's like the only way I think it would work is if the Premier League made it their mission to go and get Mbappe.
Yeah, which is never going to happen.
League. Like the Saudi League, and they need to go and get these players. I just don't see that happening.
The thing about Mbappe being in the Premier League, that the Premier League, the one thing about it is the number one viewed league in the world, which is why all these small clubs have actually become rich now because of the TV deals that happen over the past few years. So I forgot who here said it earlier. I think Nina said, I don't really like the idea of facing Mbappe. Well, I don't think anyone would. But at the end of the day, we're all getting good money for him just being in the league, especially the lower teams. The thing is, JJ said it perfectly. The only way for him to come to the Premier League is if the Premier League as an organization says, listen, we smell the money that he's going to bring us. That's just because I think there's wage structure rules or whatever that it would 100% violate if he comes to the Premier League. If they find a way to say, listen, we need him because he's going to bring us views, and these views are the viewers are going to get us money from TV deals and all that stuff, then let's bring him in. However, that's the same approach Madrid are doing. I don't think Madrid built this stadium 2 years ago and then did this whole new rebuild in their team to eventually not have a star in this team to get them. Like, what's his name? The Madrid president.
Perez.
What's his name?
Perez.
Perez is probably the most calculated guy in the world when it comes to money. He knows every move that he makes eventually brings a lot of income to this Madrid team. So the idea of not getting Mbappe after all the money that he just spent in recent years to rebuild this team and rebuild this stadium, all that, like, this is the time that he gets his money back. And he's going to get his money back from bringing in Mbappe. It's going to be, I think, to get Mbappe of Madrid after the last 2-3 years of all the back and forth that they went with PSG would be absolutely insane, because it is basically him versus the state of Qatar. That was like, that was basically like David and Goliath. So for someone now to come in after PSG now, all right, the PSG have to lick their wounds and leave because it's over. They lost the war here. For someone else to come in and snatch Mbappe from Madrid after everything that's happened the past few years, I find that highly, highly, highly unlikely.
And especially because he's got the control of where he wants to go. And this is the thing, right, with Real Madrid. He's got the control of where he wants to go. But Real Madrid doesn't come around so often, by the way. If you're 25 and you go to the Premier League, you have an ACL injury or you have something that you know miss out in your career, 100%. You might never ever play at Real Madrid. And some players for me in football are destined to play at Real Madrid. And he's one of them, Staffy, isn't it? It's just one of them things.
And not for nothing, also, I actually wouldn't want him in my team. The way this guy controlled Madrid, no, not for footballing reasons, Sarah. I'm seeing your face, not because of footballing reasons. I'm saying the way he had PSG and Madrid on strings for 2 years, this guy basically was running the club. He was literally be a cancer.
Staffy, I'm calling you out. You just don't want Martial's place to be taken. That's all this is for you. I know it.
Look at that.
I'll send you this over.
Look at that.
Oh my God. No, I'm only joking, but yeah, no, that's all it is. Staffy. Oh, my Martial. In fairness, we don't need Mbappe at Man United. We've got Rashi and Garnacho. We're good, man.
Hey, listen, that's the only thing I thought of. I was like, he's leaving now. That opens up a spot for Rashford.
Well, this is it. PSG. They might come in with some big money for Rashi, and that becomes another conversation. Rory, thanks for joining us again, mate. I really appreciate it a lot. But viewers, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel. Just over 4,000 people watching the show right now, which is amazing. Make sure like buttons are being hit. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. I want to shout out our title sponsors tonight, Match Bingo. It is the best and most fun game you can play during games. Championship games, Premier League games, whatever it is that you are watching. Sometimes you get them for free because you do get free cards when you download their app, but sometimes you purchase for £2 a Match Bingo card and you get certain events that have to happen in games, you know, goal kicks, free kicks, how much injury time's added. And if you get a full line, you win some money. If you get 2 lines, you win some money. If you're the first person to get a full house, you win even more money. We've actually had people on the Football Terrace that have downloaded the app win the £1,000 grand prizes. It's really fun. It's really inexpensive as well. It makes especially the boring games fun. So I tend to do it for the games where I don't support anybody and not really focusing on who I really care about winning. It gives it a little bit more entertainment. But go check out Match Bingo. It's a really great business. And what they also do, a lot of their proceeds also go to helping the Alzheimer's Society as well. So they're partnered with them, and a lot of what they make goes towards funding and supporting people suffering with Alzheimer's as well. So if you are someone that's partial to a little flutter, go check out Match Bingo at the end of this show. Big game this weekend, Nina. You're traveling up to Manchester. You're playing the title favourites, the current treble winners, Manchester City. What chance do you feel Chelsea have of sort of upsetting the apple cart and maybe pulling off a little bit of a shock this weekend?
None, straight up, none. I don't think it'll be a high scoring game, but I did predict that Man City will beat us. I mean, it's no surprise. I can't really go against that. I mean, I wasn't confident the first game going in at Stamford Bridge, and, you know, that turned out to be one of the best games in the Prem this season. So, But I just think it's a very different Man City. You know, like after that game, 4-4, Man City sort of went on a little bit of a rocky kind of conceding, like, you know, giving away silly goals and stuff. But, you know, now with like Kevin De Bruyne back, Phil Foden performing, Haaland's back, I mean, they're going to look like a completely different team. And they've got a game in hand. So that is already a sort of a one bigger reason to want to win it. Goal difference is tight. They're going to want to be lethal up front as well. And I just look at every single area on the pitch. You know, I look at how our fullbacks can contain their wingers. I look at how we can contain, you know, your Rodris and midfields, and I just don't really see it happening, to be honest with you. But that's it. I just hope that we can actually put a bit of a performance up. You know, I don't want to go there and be completely embarrassed and dismantled. I actually still want to, you know, have some sort of dignity there and hold my head high walking away from it. I don't think it's embarrassing to lose to Man City currently. It's not a surprise to lose to Manchester City right now. So, you know, who am I? Chelsea are 10th. We are 10th. Man City are literally fighting to win another league title. So, I mean, if you look at the odds, there's no chances for Chelsea here. I have to be completely honest.
I love what she said, by the way, Terry, because it's true. The manner of the defeat, because they've got a cup final next week against Liverpool.
Yeah,
funny enough, me and Rory were on a show together earlier talking about it, and we were saying that Chelsea are not expected to get there and get a result, and I understand that. But if you go there and you lose 2-1, you come out of there with some respect. You beat Villa away. You've beaten Palace away, even though, of course, it was the last minute, but still, it's a win. If you go there and don't lose 4-5-0, you can go into that final next week with, you know, right, okay, we actually tested City at least. So I proper hear you on that, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anyone on the panel who thinks that Chelsea could pull off grab a draw? Does anyone think it's even close to being plausible?
Hopium would be my answer.
The hope that kills you.
It is the hope that kills you. That's why I go into every single game, because that's literally what it has been as a Chelsea fan. You know, I've gone to every single home game in the last year and a half, and I always go to the games with that like little hope that it's always like it's the hope you hang on to. Like every football fan has it, you know, as much as like your team's doing badly, you know, we see upsets, we see and like I said, it's literally exactly the same way I went into the Man City game at home thinking we lose it, and it's always that little hope. But yeah, I guess it's there, but again, it's the performance that I'm hanging on to. I want to see us play well, go into good momentum into the cup final. It's never good to lose, get absolutely dismantled, and go and play another title challenging team in the cup final that beat us there twice in a row not even a year ago. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. You know, we've got a really tough run coming up, starting with Man City on Saturday. After the cup final, we've got to play Newcastle, we've got Arsenal coming up, we've got Man United, and most of these games are away as well. Not that it really matters, home or away, our record's been up and down anyway, but you know, I don't really see us picking up many wins. So for me, I kind of want to, what I want is, yes, results. We've kind of spoken about, I said like last season, I wanted to see performances improve. But now that we've seen that even in games like with Arsenal, which was arguably one of our better games this season, it was a draw in the end. And Man City, again, another really good game for us, but, you know, a draw. And there's been so many times where we look at it and we think it's been a good performance. But at the end of the day, like the Premier League table doesn't lie. We haven't got the points. We haven't picked up momentum. So it truly is about results now. I don't really actually care that much about performances. But that being said, I know it's contradictory. I still want us to go away and put up a bit of a fight at the Etihad.
I can see them getting a draw.
No, you don't, Rory. Stop it. That's
go on, Rory.
That is Poch right there.
You have to think about it though. What has to happen? Like Man City have to be having a really off day. You know, they've got so many like good additions, important additions back into the squad as well. And like I said, you know, there's no time to be fumbling results now. Like they have to go on a run. They absolutely can. And you have to think about it. They've won like 11 or 12 games in a row. How do you see Chelsea being the first team that stops that run?
I think you can go there and get a draw. I think defensively, when you've needed to be not been that bad this season, if you can go and sit in a low block, and the issue is maturity. But if you can be mature and Poch can get it right, and you sit in a low block, there is the talent at Chelsea.
There's a lot of what ifs there, mate.
There is a lot of what ifs, but it can happen. It can happen.
Rory, they played a low block against you when they were 2-0 up. And they gave away 2 goals. The fact there is a possibility they could literally give Man City goals. Not the fact that Man City can play scintillating football. They could literally pass the ball to Haaland, and Haaland has a tap in front of goal.
But Haaland could have one of those games where he misses 3 big chances and doesn't get a
Actually,
goal.
2 weeks ago, maybe. 2 weeks ago, maybe. But he just scored 2 goals against Everton recently. So I think the Haaland that we thought would miss 5 chances, I think is gone. I think he's back.
I do get
have a bit of faith.
from an Arsenal. I do get the support from an Arsenal fan though heading into this game for Chelsea.
Yeah,
so
just have a bit of belief.
I'm all for hope. I'm all for hopium, but there has to be some essence of reality. And
There
honestly,
genuinely is an element of thought behind it in the terms of where they've picked up results against Villa, against Arsenal, against Liverpool, against Spurs, against City. They've actually, other than Liverpool away, where fair enough they capitulated, big games they've not been bad this season against big teams.
They were against
They're
9
playing
men
Man
when
City
they
away.
beat us.
Huh?
Okay,
We only
wait,
had
hold
9
on.
men when they beat us.
yeah, I agree with Kate here. I do. I can't.
They play
me ask
away
you
to
something,
us and they
Ram.
got slapped 4-1.
Rem. Did you think they were going to score 4 against City in the first fixture?
No, I thought they scored 2.
Okay, so there you go. So they have proven that they can actually do something in a game.
No, but I also didn't expect City to concede 4 as well.
But I also think it's a different Man
That's-
City this time round. Like Man City went on to leak on goals to loads of other teams shortly after. That was the first game that everyone was truly shocked that Man City conceded 4 goals in one game. You don't put 4 past Pep's City every day of the week. Do you know what I mean? But then a lot of other teams kind of went on. They got a draw against Palace. Again, that was a shocker. But this is, like I said, I think this is a big turnaround here for Man City now. They absolutely have the power to go off and have an unbeaten run and not be tarnished.
I agree with you. Listen, I don't think they will win, but I don't think Rory is absurd for saying that he could see a draw.
Yeah.
Because
I see that.
we've seen them turn up in big games. We've seen them actually play better in big games, and there's a reason for that because City are not going to park the bus, so they're going to find it easier to play against City than they did against Palace. And as shocking that sounds, is because City will allow you to have a little bit of the ball. They're not going to just.
True. And it gives us more space as well. We always play much better when we're given space. We can use our width on the pitch. We can use wingers as
Your
well.
last 3 goals last game came from that. Came from actually the team against you, allowing you a little bit to play a little bit quicker, play on the transition,
Breaking in that transition.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So you're approaching this game differently than you're approaching low block teams. And I don't think the reason you guys are struggling, I think it's because you're not a good footballing team to break down teams yet. But you don't need to break down City to score against them. That is the point that you need to understand. And to Ram's point, 1 second, Ram. And to your point, when you were saying Haaland this and that, I get that 100%. Haaland, for all I know, Haaland can go ahead next game and score 3 goals. But don't also forget that it took him 70 minutes to get a shot on target. Like that goal was that goal was their first shot on target, and that's against Everton. So that's what I'm saying. It could actually go either way.
I said the exact same things when they were coming to Anfield, and look what happened.
You don't play the same way in City, so how's that relevant?
No, but I've seen it all. I've seen it all. When they came to Anfield, I saw the way they played. And
you know what? If we set up the way we did against you guys at Anfield, it's a done game and it's going to be wreckage. Because what Rory said about it massively depending on how Pochettino sets up, if he leaves Caicedo a lone man in midfield, it is a done game. I'm telling you now, it is going to be horrific figures because that is exactly what he did in that game against Liverpool. It's what he did in, some of our worst games this season is he's left Caicedo for a dead man. He plays so much better when Enzo's alongside with him. But again, that just massively depends on what Poch is feeling on the day. You never know what you can get. But yeah, it's done. He's going to get right round through.
If City don't beat Chelsea, it's an embarrassing scoreline for City. They should be beating them. It's an embarrassment for Manchester City if they don't beat Chelsea at home.
They will beat them. They will beat them.
It will happen. I'm sorry, Nina. It's going to happen.
It's probably going to happen.
Don't apologise.
It's probably going to happen, but it's one of those interesting ones, and I say this a lot on the terrace, where everybody is just convinced, without even really thinking about it, that City are winning, and that is. Typically speaking, when my friends, they are friends of mine now, we've got a good understanding, the football gods say, they get the little magic wand and they go, whoop, and something crazy happens. It's one of those, just no one's giving Chelsea a catch chance in hell. I don't know where that saying comes from, but it is one that my dad used to say. But again, I agree. I think City are going to win, but I just don't think it's as big a foregone conclusion. And it could be. They could lose 4 or 5-0 and everyone goes, oh, you're an idiot, Terry. But I just don't. I can't. I'm not writing Chelsea off 100%.
It wouldn't surprise you, Terry, like when the first 15 minutes Chelsea nick a goal and go 1-0 up, because at the end of the day, if Chelsea play it smart, I agree with Nina, and I chat to Don as well. Obviously, he comes on here a lot, and we talk about the Casado Island. And if he goes back to a 4-2-3-1 for me, right, plays Casado and Enzo next to each other, and they say, look, we're going to sit back and we're going to defend and try and hold it out, right? We've seen Crystal Palace do the same thing and get a result. Everton, like Staffy said, pushed them to the 70th minute. Chelsea, for me, have better defenders than them teams have, right? And if they can use Nukuku correctly, who I think deserves to start, good in the half pockets, can travel with the ball. Cole Palmer, he's been there and done it at City. And Jackson, like, despite all the kickings he gets this season, right? His link-up play and his hold-up is not actually that bad, and he has speed in behind. So if you can get them free in transition and just beat that Rodri press, and then all of a sudden you're running at their back four, what you're always going to get at City, and this is one thing I think, even as Man United fan, even if it's Chelsea, Liverpool, you will get opportunities, right? City are that type of team where, yes, they should beat you at home. They've not lost since 2022 or whatever it is, right? But they will give you opportunities. Can you be clinical in them 4 or 5 transitional moments when you get them? And that's the big question. But I do believe you'll get them opportunities if you play the right players. Yeah.
I mean, you're right. Look, Copenhagen, Burnley, Newcastle, all got goals against them.
Mm-hmm.
We've had loads of games where teams will give us opportunities. We won't capitalize, though, not always.
That's what it is, yeah.
That is what it is.
I see you there, Nina. I see you. You're trying not to burst out a big smile. Oh, there's a chance.
I love that. Ty actually makes me believe it.
You know what I mean? I'm giving you that belief there, because if Chelsea are to get a result, that is how it's going to be. And like, look, people might think I'm mad, but I'm saying if Chelsea get a result, it's going to be that sort of way. But yeah, City should be winning on paper. Of course.
The reason I think it's a really good question is because a lot of people are saying that City are not going to lose a game now for the rest of the season. They are going to win every single game they play across all competitions for the rest of the season. And although they're going to win a lot of them, granted, I just don't think they're going to win every single game. And there will be, in my opinion, a shock or two. It may be in the FA Cup, it might be in the Champions League, where we go, oh, didn't see that one coming. And that isn't because I know more about football than anybody else. That is just, typically speaking, how football goes. There's already been some of those results this year. Nobody expected them to draw 2-2 with Crystal Palace. Nobody. And it happened. So I don't know if I'm buying into this notion that, I saw someone on Talk Sports say it, City will win every game between now and the end of the season. And I just think that is a little bit, that's more far-fetched in my opinion than Chelsea nicking a scummy draw away from home.
Well, they're picking up an L at Anfield. They're definitely picking up an L at Anfield. Just saying.
Yeah, I think they'll lose at Anfield as well. You know, I think Arsenal will go to the Emirates and give them a good game, as an example. You know, there's a few games left that's tough for them. But yeah, I think City are the favourites and they should be respected. I just don't buy into this notion that they're going to, I don't know how many games they've got left, 15 games? Champions League games, they must have at one, two, they've got 6 or 7 games left there, plus FA Cup. They've got 25 games left, maybe. I don't see him winning 25 on the bounce in all comps. I don't. Maybe I'm being a hater, but that seems crazy to me. Dyke here says, Nukuku had a hat-trick last time he went to the
He did actually. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. We don't even know if he's
Look at Nina's face. Look at Nina's face.
The excitement, Nina. Look at the excitement coming out.
Nina, is he even
We've gassed her up now. We've gassed her up.
Is he even fit? He's not even fit, is he? He's injured, I swear.
The thing is, actually what Poch, I like that he was actually quite clever with Nukuku last game because he didn't start, and it's exactly the reason that Nukuku from here on is one of our most precious players, and we're going to need him for the next 2 games, cup final, crucial. He needs to be fit, and again, he's almost one of those players you worry is kind of made out of glass a little bit. He did have injuries at Leipzig as well, so you do always have that at the back of your minds. But look, that's a bit extreme hat-trick at the Etihad again, but you guys are really putting my hopes up here, but still, I still believe what I said. But yeah, like Ty said, if he's using Nukuku in the right way, and I actually think Nukuku is much better. He's a great finisher. But I almost think that Pochettino hasn't utilized him to his strengths in the last few games as well, because he's just stuck him up front with Gallagher in behind, who won't create for him that much, because Gallagher will always play the safe pass as opposed to, trying something a bit more unpredictable. And Nkunku's great at finishing, even that goal, the one goal we had, the one shot we had against you guys at Anfield, you saw Nkunku masterfully get out of that tight space to, finish his chance. I thought it was a very well put away goal. But Yeah, look, he is one of those.
You know what I feel, though? I feel like you're not going to do it, but you see how City use Alvarez, right? It's like a second striker.
Yeah.
I feel like Nukuku is the perfect second striker, not the number 9, like the focal point, not like a winger or or out wide. But I feel like if you can get him behind Jackson, but you just don't play a style or formation that suits that. But I feel like a second striker, he is perfect for it because he can create.
He's always when he was at Leipzig, he's always played as a second striker. He played behind what's his name, Yusuf Poulsen, quite a bit.
Yes,
so that's where he had his best moments. So I don't know.
And it's finding the ways to get the best out of him, basically. Yeah, I agree.
GU here says Chelsea can beat City or get a draw. Chelsea played chaotic at Liverpool, but City don't playing teams that are like playing teams that are unpredictable. That's why they struggle to Liverpool.
I think even he or she doesn't believe what they said there with Chelsea beating or drawing. That's why they couldn't quite match the sentence up.
Galadog will be key, is what Kingsley's got to say here.
Hey, listen, he might score again. We might have uncomfortable conversations on the football terrace. Maybe we'll be there.
And no, we're Don. By the way, I know Don ain't here today, but when he came on a show the other day, I really wish that Nina was there because you'd have seen what we were talking about. The way he was bigging them up, and anyone that said anything's all constructive about their performance, he was like, no, defending every little bit. So what he does,
legendary. He's doing it right now in the comments. He's doing it.
I know he's lurking somewhere. I know he just messaged me on WhatsApp as well.
Shout out to Don.
By the way, Don, I watched you on George's channel today. I didn't realize you were so short, bruv. I'm just saying, I didn't know. Yes, I didn't know. Yeah, so you are next to Chatty Patty, and Chatty Patty is obviously relatively tall. But I was like, oh, look at little Don. Oh, bless him.
He looks tiny. You can tell he's tiny. He'd probably fit in your pocket.
I've met Don. I can't lie. I've met Don. He come to our barbecue. Yeah, that too. Lovely guy though. Heart of gold.
The thing is, right? There was a guy that used to do. I don't know where he is anymore. The Grand Dam. He's a Chelsea fan, right? He used to do streams, and he looked short on camera because he's quite a slight guy. Then he came to the studio. He's about 9'2", and he walked in. He walked in. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I ain't interviewing him. Like, I'm 5'10", and I felt like a shrimp. I was like, I ain't doing it. I'm running away. Some people, it's deceiving. But this says the football gods are coming to the Etihad this week. It's from
That's
a kill.
Not how they work, man. That's not how they work. Don't summon them. They will. It's not going to happen.
They get summoned. They get summoned by attitude and behavior is the way they work. If Nkunku plays, we can win. Throwback to the 3 goals versus Leipzig is what Mark Mitchell says here. Some confident Chelsea fans out there, you know.
I don't think it's that simple to say if Nkunku plays, you have a better chance. I don't think you're gonna get a chance because he's playing.
The disappointment in all these Chelsea fans with super chatty when the starting lineup comes out and he's sitting on a bench. Oh no! No, it's good. It's going to be amazing. What of this weekend? We'll speak Liverpool first and Arsenal, but for both teams, because there is this notion that City are barely going to drop any points. What's the pressure like, Jerry, when it comes to and Ram when it comes to your need to win? You go away to Brentford, which can be a difficult place to go. What's the pressure like knowing
early
that this
kickoff?
Early kickoff. I know you hate the 12:30s. Do you know what I mean?
The 12:30.
Yeah. Early kickoff.
We haven't lost at 12:30 this season, have we?
Yeah, but Klopp, I've heard it's a conspiracy to make you lose.
Oh yeah. Can I take this one? Can I take this one, JJ?
Do you think you're going to handle the pressure this weekend and beat Brentford?
I am not looking forward to this game this weekend. We haven't won at Brentford ever since they came to the Premier League. I've seen Johan Visa turn into Johan Cruyff against us. Like that is wild.
How long did it take you to write that? How long did it take you to write that, brother?
No, because I came up with that myself, Terry.
He didn't go to work today to write that. That's what he did.
Oh, look, the notebooks in the back. Look, the notebooks there.
Stop it.
The pen and pad.
I came up with that just now. But yeah, I've seen Johan Visa turn into Johan Cruyff and spin up Trent the way he has. And the fact that we haven't won there. Ibrahim Konate, last time he went there, he looked like a shadow of himself, getting bullied by Mbuemo. Like, it's never been a good ground for us. And even when we were doing well in 21-22, we drew against them 3-3. Like, I'm not confident going to Brentford. I've got to be real. I'm not going to say we're going to smack them. It's absolutely which Liverpool fan says that we're going to smack them, don't know what they're talking about. They don't. It's going to be a tough game, but I do think we're going to scrape something. I do think we're going to scrape a 2-1 win. I really do. I think the way that we've been performing, it's just going to be a very, very tough couple of weeks for us. We're not going to be playing scintillating football. We're not going to be playing well. But if we could just grind out results until that game at Anfield against City, I'll be very, very happy. But this game is probably going to be our hardest test. And this is probably going to be a big test for a lot of Liverpool fans to see if this team have bounced back. Because let's be honest, the performance against Burnley wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. But if we end up getting a result against Brentford, then I can say happily we bounced back from the Arsenal loss.
Jerry, do you think? I mean, you got a lot of hate on the football terrace the day that Klopp announced that he was leaving because he had no more energy. Because you were like, "What a terrible time to do it! It could impact the team." Since then, you've had a number of really poor performances. Do you feel somewhat vindicated?
Vindicate is the wrong word because it's like I didn't want that to be the case, but for me, it just didn't make any sense. It's the whole idea of getting too excited and the adrenaline being pumped up within the club, and then kind of evaporating before the end of the season. I think the time was just completely wrong. In hindsight,
Jerry, sorry, I'm gonna let you land. I'm 100% gonna let you land. Can I just play devil's advocate quickly? Trent got injured and Salah went to AFCON. So in my head, as a neutral, I was thinking, has he done that to subside your big players going to try and give the players a lift? That was all I was going to say.
But I don't think the players needed that. I think the players can just look at that and be like, "You're good enough. You're good enough to you're good enough to be at the clubs. You're good enough to go and." I mean, Salah's gone to AFCON before. We've had injuries before, and Liverpool still were able to get results. Like Salah's gone to AFCON every single season since he's been at Liverpool, every 2 years. Sorry, and we've always done relatively well without him. So for me, it wasn't that. But yeah, look, I think from now, obviously, look, it's not in our control after the Arsenal game. So I'm looking at it and just thinking, cool, we've just got to win every single game up until the City game, and then assess where we are when we get to the City game in a couple of weeks' time, or in 3 weeks' time or so. That's all we can do. We just got to make sure we just do the business and we beat Brentford. And to be fair, I prefer facing Brentford at 12:30 than having Brentford under the lights, like at the 5:30 kickoff on the Saturday. I think that would be more worrying for me because I think the fans would be quite up for it. Hopefully, 12:30 is still a bit relatively quiet. So it is what it is. I think Liverpool just got to do the business now, and hopefully the timing isn't too bad.
To be fair, when you look at the fixtures as a rival, I think Brentford away and the lunchtime kickoffs, one that you look at for Liverpool, where you're like, that's one of those ones where they could drop points. Like if you're looking at where they might drop points before now and the end of the season, I'm hopeful. I'm a bit giddy about it. I feel like this could be the one.
I'll say this. I think there's more of a chance of us dropping points against Brentford away than it is dropping points against Man City at home. That's how worried I'm worried about this game. We've never played well at Brentford. We've never played well.
But Liverpool don't have to play well to win this season. That's the difference. Is that
when we don't play well against Brentford, they just
hold on. But bar Chelsea that we beat the other day and we spanked them, we have not beat a top 6 side this season. Where's the confidence that Liverpool are going to go and not drop points? Logically, that doesn't make any sense. Like statistically, it just logically doesn't make any sense. As in, we've lost 2 games this season. That was to Tottenham, obviously, we're in that situation, and obviously the Arsenal game. We have not beaten any other top 6 side, bar Chelsea in the cup.
But I'll say this though, JJ, because you talked about the tactics behind it. The way we play, doesn't it suit against a style that City plays, where we don't have much of the ball and we're able to counter or even press them when they have the ball? And remember, it's at Anfield as well.
Yeah, I hear that, and I think it will be a good game. I just think that's going to be a game for me where it's a one-off game, isn't it? Like it could go either way. It just depends who gets that done tactically. Liverpool are the better side, than Brentford. I hear Rory's point. I hear your point in terms of, yeah, it can be a potential banana skin. I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I'm not unbeknownst to that. But if Liverpool have got any title aspirations, you've got to get the job done now. You've got to win every single game until you get to the City game. If you don't do it, then you're not ready to win the title race. That's the way I see it. It's
100%.
Will Salah start for you guys?
He's still. I don't know.
I think
no, he came back in training. He came back to training this week. But
he's back in training.
I reckon he's off the bench this weekend. 60 minutes midweek, ready for the final Sunday.
Yeah,
I think
FPL.
I think the problem is Liverpool won't rush Salah back due to what's happened with Trent, Szoboszlai, and Thiago. They're all players that came back from injury. It was seemingly really great, and then all of a sudden, play 6 minutes, have 6 touches, and you're gone.
Thiago,
so,
bro.
Yeah, man.
That was cheeky mentioning Thiago, JJ. Man.
Are you guys feeling the pressure though with Arsenal and Man City now, like breathing down your necks? The form hasn't been good. Are you feeling that pressure?
Not really. I think we all kind of came to terms with the fact. I think because we kept on saying that City's just never going to fall off, and we pretended that their game in hand is going to be an easy 3 points. So we already knew that these guys are going to be behind us. They're going to be right there. Like at the start of the season, we were saying we will be there no matter what. So I kind of expected all this to happen. It was going to be a tight title race. And I'm not too bothered about it. I really am. I think we just need to focus on our games. And then if they have a banana skin somewhere, then we hope that they end up pulling off. You know what I mean?
I hear you on that. The other title race game this weekend to keep an eye out for at 3 p.m. Tottenham versus Wolves. Kate.
Why do you even say the title race game, Terry? Don't even try and entice me into that nonsense.
I have to.
Right. No, you don't. You try.
I have to talk about it because I've had. It's not nice, but I've had people threaten me. I've had people threaten my life if I don't say that you're in a title race because I say that Arsenal are in one. So I am just protecting my life. So I've got to say it. They are watching. They told me. They told me they're watching.
Are in a title race. Tottenham are most definitely not in a title race.
I don't endorse that message. If you are watching, I'm blinking and I'm telling you Spurs are. Just in case you're watching, mate.
What are you?
I'm
you're
scared.
5 points behind us, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's too much.
Hey, you got Son back. You should be excited. You got Son
exactly.
back.
Son is back.
You know what the truth is, Staffy. She's worried about us, mate.
Who? Man United? No, I'm not
worried about United.
I don't endorse.
I'm not worried about Man United.
You are. We're breathing down your neck.
No, you're 6 points behind
it's like
us.
the UK. It's like Jimbo after he's had a skinful. He's breathing down your neck. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. You've thrown me completely off there. The thing is with Tottenham, I don't think we're playing well. I keep saying it every time I come on to this channel. I don't think we're playing well. I don't think we've played particularly well all season. I think we've been so lucky. So when I watched,
don't let Patrick hear that. Kate. Don't let him hear that.
I respect this. I like this because I agree.
When I watch Liverpool, City, and as much as it pains me to say Arsenal, they look a different gravy to Tottenham. They look a whole other level above Tottenham. So this is why I don't put us in a title race because we're nowhere near those three teams at the moment.
You look versus Brighton, Kate.
Brighton, the first half we was diabolical.
Brighton had chances, man.
Yeah, second half we came into it. Wolves is going to be a tricky game, you know. I would love to get Pedro Neto. I know he's linked to Arsenal. I think he's an incredible player. They're a very physical team. I do think we might have enough to nick it 2-1 again, but it's like every Spurs game at the minute. You can't sit and enjoy it. You're sitting there biting your nails thinking, are we going to lose? Are we going to nick it in the last minute? There's just no pleasure. There is pleasure in the fact that we're playing nice football, but you never feel comfortable. Well, I don't.
Do you know what, Kate, as well? The caveat is that Udogie and Porro have not trained all week. And for me, part of your package, and I agree with you, by the way, since like game week 4 or 5, I don't think Spurs have been that amazing. I think you give a lot of chances away, but you win games and you found a way. So I think you're bang on there. But I feel like even now with Porro and Udogie, if both of them are missing, they're such like key components of what you do when you build up from the back and stuff. And their athleticism, they're very dynamic. Porro's been very good this season. Udogie's just an athlete. If them two aren't there, I think Cunha's out, but I think Hwang and Neto on the break, they're going to fancy themselves. I'm not going to lie.
Of course they are. And I don't blame them for fancying themselves either. I mean, I think both our wingers are awful. You know, we've still got so much work to do. I mean, everyone thinks I'm a super negative Spurs fan. I'm not. I know where we are. I know we're at the beginning of a project. But for me, we've still got a hell of a lot of work to do. Even when we were sat at the top of the table for 10 games, it never crossed my mind for a second that we'd end up anywhere near the top. So, yeah, it's not something I look forward to watching. I like the attacking football. It's exciting. But at the same time, I have no nails at all because I can never just enjoy it.
Winning ugly, the sign of champions.
What's that? Winning ugly?
Winning ugly is a sign of champions.
It's not sustainable, though, is it? Week in, week out. It really isn't sustainable at all. And I had a long chat with one of your regular watchers, David the Gooner, that comes onto the Terrace and watches your shows, Terry. And I said, you know what? I can put my hands up and say maybe Arteta is going to prove me wrong. The last 2 weeks, I've seen a different Arsenal. I didn't know they had it in their locker the way they've played the last 2 weeks. But I will happily retract my Arteta's a fraud should you win something either this season or next season. If you don't, I will stick with my guns. But I've got to give Arsenal credit and say that they've been incredible the last couple of weeks. So that makes me sick, but it is what it is.
I hear you on that. And Rory, I mean, you certainly have, I would say the last 3 to 4 games, really, the pace has come back in, the goals are returning, you know, the best defense in the league. You've got, I wouldn't say it's a tricky game this weekend because Burnley are awful home and away. They open up. This should be a fairly simplistic game for Arsenal to score another 2 or 3 goals, get it done early, and then it's pressure on Man City because maybe both Liverpool and Arsenal won before they play. Do you expect any problems up with Vincent Kompany's men?
No, not really. I think even in times where I would have, you know, because they'll play a low block probably like everyone does, but because now we're so good on corners, we're so good from set pieces, and I think James Trafford at Burnley is probably the weakest keeper under corners in the league. I think I could see Saliba or Gabriel scoring a brace for the Gabriel would be the second time this season. Like I think that's where we'll score our goals. So yeah, I think it should be simple. It should be simple, but you never know. 3 o'clock kickoff. We've had issues with them in the past, so but no, I'm confident.
Can anyone, Nina, Staffy, can anyone see a Burnley shock here, grabbing a draw, taking points off Arsenal, or is this just going to be a simple one?
I think it's a pretty straightforward game for Arsenal, and it should be, like, judging by how much momentum you guys have now going into this game and how many goals you've been scoring. I don't see how a Burnley troubles that or stops that. And you still haven't lost a game, have you, this calendar year? So I just, again, don't see how Burnley trip that up or break that stat for you guys. And yeah, like the good thing about good thing I say, the thing that's improved for you guys massively is set pieces as well. And I think that kind of covers up and makes up for the fact that, you know, you didn't really assign, because I still think and I believe that at some point down the line, you know, if goals don't continue to come from a collection of players as they are now, you know, you've got centre-back scoring as well, you've got midfielders and forwards scoring for you, that I still think at some point down the line, if this doesn't continue, you might look back and see that not addressing the striker situation last year could potentially be you guys, like separating you guys from winning the league and not. And I think that might be an issue for you guys. But yeah, judging by how much you have improved and you can be lethal, you are unpredictable in terms of where goals are coming from on the day, which again is a struggle, is a difficulty for opposition to know how to set up and play against you guys. If that continues, then that's really good for you. You've kind of got one up there. But again, I still think that a striker, not having an elite striker at Arsenal, will be the difference if you guys don't win the league, which I don't think you will.
And I think, Terry, your point's been proven perfectly that Arsenal have started slow and have kicked in later on in the season because their style of play is so much faster than it was at the start of the season. I said, you know, they look so much poorer than they did last year. Now all of a sudden they look different gravy, you know, they really do.
I just, do you know what it was for me? One, they started too fast last year. That you can't pace yourself when you start off in the gear they did. Most teams that are champions pace themselves historically, and I didn't buy into this notion that Arsenal suddenly changed how they were playing to accommodate Kai Havertz. It felt too simplistic. It just felt silly. So you're telling me they're going to throw away everything they've developed over 4 years for Kai Havertz? I didn't buy it. I believe it's because they're essentially reserving energy, and City did it perfectly last year. Because if we all remember April and May, every one of our teams was leggy. But those guys looked like they had so much energy left. But you go back to the beginning of the season, everybody was saying, this doesn't look like the same City team. They look really poor this year. Have they fallen off? And it was obviously, again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. So it was a tactic to play within yourselves to a certain degree, but still win, and then really go for it in the second half. So I think that the Arsenal not having a goal scorer element, I'm intrigued over the next 3 to 4 games to see whether we still will all hold that opinion if this pace of football continues and the goals continue. Because if they would have started the season with Saka and Martinelli in the front line scoring lots of goals between them, nobody would have mentioned the need of a striker. It's just because of the speed of play and lack of goals. But I think Arsenal coming into form in this way now, with Liverpool being who they are and City, I think it makes this title race so exciting, because I think that any drop points, especially in games like Arsenal-Burnley, it just means you can't drop points in the games you're not meant to now. So I think going away to Brentford, you might look at that as a game where maybe Klopp and yourselves have looked at it as we might drop points here. When City go away to Anfield, they may look at that as a game they drop points in. But it's these Burnley games, the games they should be winning. Man City at home against Chelsea that are 11th. It's a game they should look at and go, that has to be 3 points. Suddenly pick up a draw or two in those games. And I think it just makes the title race so exciting. It really does. So nerves now are going to start coming into this, because none of these teams, by the way, have been, Arsenal for a long while, in a freeway title race. It's a different kettle of fish to having one team to look at. You're looking at 2 or 3, and we haven't had one of these for like where you've had 3 seriously good teams at once going for a Premier League title. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a good decade or so. So yeah, look, I'm excited about it personally. I think it's going to be interesting.
I would say as well, sorry, I was just going to say that I would think this is probably Arsenal's best time to win a Champions League this season. Because I don't think there's that much strength in the Champions League this season. You've got City, but they are one-off games, and I think Arsenal should be fancying themselves in the Champions League. I really do.
100%. This is probably the best chance they will have, probably in a very, very long time. Because look, think about it. City are City. Real Madrid, obviously, they got the heritage. People are saying Inter Milan, but I think it will be a very, very close game. Other than them 3 teams, I don't see anyone beating Arsenal. I really don't. Barcelona are trash. Bayern are trash. Lazio are trash. Like, no, PSG, if Mbappe is not scoring, they're trash. So it's literally Arsenal, Inter, City, Real Madrid for the Champions League. And this will be the best opportunity they have, because next season, look, a lot of the teams that are performing well this season aren't in the Champions League. They're in the Europa League. So this is probably their best chance.
I agree with that, actually. I always said that if Arsenal were to get a City or Real Madrid in over 2 legs, I think they're the 2 teams that I think that can beat them. But if I'm an Arsenal fan, right, and I'm thinking, right, 2-legged tie at home at the Emirates, how many teams do I believe in Europe can come to the Emirates and beat us? And if we win our home leg, then we've always got a chance away from home. And other than Man City and Real Madrid, I don't see many teams like Atletico. They've gone a bit more expansive now. They're starting to concede more goals than they ever had under Simeone. Inter Milan, we know they're robust, but you can beat them on their day. Barcelona, Napoli, they can definitely beat them. And Bayern Munich are not the same. And PSG, we know what they are. So I do hear you that I think they can get it to a semi-final. And I think that'll still be a successful campaign for Arsenal, considering they've not been in it for years. But yeah, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I don't think Rory's fearing anyone other than Real Madrid and City coming to town. And I'm talking about fearing everyone else. He'll be like, on our day, we can beat them. So yeah, you're right, Ram. And Kate. So.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to how they cope, though, with 2 tournaments, because they don't have the experience.
Exactly. I was going to say
big
that.
games in Europe. Yeah, and that's obviously not a disrespect.
And you're always going to prioritize the league stuff, aren't you? Because the league's
and they have the experience in the league. That's what I'm saying. So how are they gonna? Let's say they get into the latter stages of the Champions League. They get past Porto and they go into the next round. You draw an Inter. That's a big draw. You draw, and I'm assuming Inter would pass Atletico, because even if Inter don't, then you
agree with that.
Atletico, and that's Simeone. Like one of these two, it's very hard to beat. Then you got City as well. As we said, if they play City, yes, they're more used to City, but one of these players have played against City in a big game, in a big night where you lose, you're out. that's something that they haven't went through.
Your point
fairness,
also plays a part with the Premier League as well, because these games are not only physically draining, they're emotionally draining as well. Playing against Simeone, if they're playing a robust defense, or Inter, it will take a lot out of you. And Arsenal haven't had that because, no offense, Rory, bigger fish to fry when it comes to the Europa League. This is Champions League football. You guys are going to take this seriously.
Yeah,
you benefit the most from that, Ram, by the way. Your team benefits the most. Go ahead, Rory. But I was just saying.
So one thing I would say, because I feel like that narrative about dealing with Champions League football and the Premier League at the same time, it's run a lot, and a lot of these players had never played any Champions League football, and we went full strength in the group stages. And after the 6 group stage games in the Champions League this season, we won 5 of them and drew 1 of them, and one of those wins was against Man City as well. So far, the squad have dealt almost perfectly with the Champions League in the way that they've done it. So I don't think
we're gonna talk about your group. Do you want to talk about your group?
Fine. You can do down the group if you want, but for a lot of those players, they were still big games. You can talk it down.
You can put down the group, but at the same time, we've just basically all agreed that there's not much quality left in it anyway. So it's the same difference, isn't it? It's look. I think it's definitely something they've got to learn to handle. There's some super chats here that say how elite are these strikers if they're sitting on 2 or 3 goals behind them? The whole Arsenal don't score goals stuff only came up when we went through our blip, is what Jay says here.
Yeah, we have only scored 2 goals fewer than City this season, so it's not like we're massively struggling.
It's true. I wish I was struggling that much. More best chance they'll ever have, chat. Heard this about the top 4, then the title, now the Champions League. Arsenal are improving every year. We are here to stay, is what Charlie says.
It still doesn't disprove the fact that Bayer Leverkusen, Bundesliga, this is their best chance of winning the Bundesliga in a very, very, very long time. Like you don't know if you're going to have this chance again. So might as well take it when you get it. You know what I mean?
Ram is talking about the opposition, not Arsenal. He's not saying because of Arsenal, but when literally Bayern are at their worst that we could say in the past, 15 years, we haven't seen them this bad. Barcelona are their worst. Liverpool are not there. United are not there.
I think the point he's making more
good right now.
I think the point he's making more is that last season, all we heard was Arsenal will never get the chance to win the Premier League again. You'll never be in a title race.
Yeah, but that's disingenuous, Rory. That's disingenuous. That's not what Ram is saying. He's saying your best chance. You could have a chance next year, but a couple of teams could improve.
Yeah, but I think the super chat was talking about in general. That was the conversation last year.
Yeah, Tevin here also says, can we stop this crap? It's always Arsenal being stuck in this best time to bracket. It was said about top 4. It was said about winning the title. Can we just stop with this narrative is what Tevin says. Kate, you've been called out. Jim here, Jimbo.
Oh, my husband.
Your husband says, Terry, Kate talks crap. Spurs are in the title race. So you've been told there, Kate. Question for Rory. Question for Rory on the super chat. It says, Rory, do you really think you'll concede less than 15 goals next season?
No, that was a joke. But it was based on, there was a stat that in Arsenal's last 2 games, we've conceded 0.2 expected goals on target. And if we did that every game in a season, we'd expect to concede 1 goal every 10 games. So I made a joke about it. That was all.
Okay. Yeah, but jokes in 2024.
Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
Zane here says Chelsea may have a chance of a draw at City. However, the fact that City scored 4 past them without KDB, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I would be very scared. The man seems possessed whenever he's against them. Do you feel that way about KDB? The last big game I remember him playing against, he walked off crying.
I'm scared of KDB. Is anyone here not scared of KDB?
Nah.
No.
I have a rule. I'm never scared of ginger. I don't know. I don't get scared of ginger people. It's just a thing for me. It's like a rule in life. I don't do fear of the ginger. It's
ginger.
No, KDB's the man. He's the man. Stop the best time narrative. We've heard it all before, is what Kenny says.
It's crazy how you triggered them all, Ram, but by just making a simple take. Actually, I do believe it.
fans-
This is Arsenal fans. I do believe it. Actually,
Arsenal fans always about improving. It's been 8 years, is what African Cat K has got to say. Zane also here says, if Mbappe joins Madrid, does that mean Haaland would stay at City in the near future? Can't see Real having Vinny, Haaland, Mbappe, and Jude in the same team.
Fair point.
I can.
I mean, theoretically, you could. I don't know if they will. Can you imagine that as a front four?
I mean, I swear they had like Figo, Zidane, Beckham, and players of that.
Yeah, even Ronaldo 9 was there.
R9.
Michael Owen was on the bench. Michael Owen was on the bench for him. Like they had everybody. Akil here says Mbappe will not go to the Premier League because nowadays the Premier League clubs have certain wage structure, so clubs in the Premier League cannot afford Mbappe's wages. Thank you very much, Akil, for that donation. The Football Corner, this is Sard. He says, people relax, he'll follow the path that Henry set.
yeah. Take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna need this for our later show.
Yeah, someone take a screenshot, please.
Don't go anywhere sad. There we go.
Taking
Sam's
it.
gonna love this one tonight on the show.
Mbappe trialed at Chelsea and fits the under 25 model. Yeah, you might be able to give him like a 15-year contract, amortize it over that time. Do you know what I mean? Keep paying him a pension till he's 62. You guys love that. You guys love that. This here says Dud Bowley ain't buying Mbappe. Saudi maybe. No, he ain't going to Saudi. If he went to Saudi Arabia, honestly, I'd say his legacy deserves to go in the bin. I genuinely mean that.
You definitely won't.
This here says it's actually Liverpool's best time to win the Prem, is what Halftime Hooks has got to say.
Why? You couldn't win it when it was a 2-horse race. Now it's 3.
I think he's alluding to with Klopp leaving, they might completely fall off.
Do you guys believe it will be a three? Do you guys believe it will be a 3-horse race until the very end? Though you don't see any of these 3 dropping off.
Not
it just
the very
takes 2 or
end.
3 games of dropping points, and you're already far behind.
It will be a bit like 2009, in my opinion. I think it was Liverpool, United, and Chelsea. And Chelsea, I think, weren't in it after game week 36 or 35, and then it was just Liverpool, United, and then United won it. So it'll be like that.
If you drop off before the last 5 games, do you go back and consider this season a 3-horse race, or is it 2? Because let's say Arsenal drop off as an example. Then Liverpool and City go all the way, and they're separated by less than 3 points.
I look at it as a race from the beginning, though. LB changed my mind on this. It's you're in it until you're not, and it's when did you fall out? Like, if you're in a 400-meter final, you might come last, but you were still in the race. You just fouled at a certain point. I think it's but listen, I think all 3 with 3 games to go could mathematically win the league. I think it'll be that tight in the end.
The only reason I'm asking is because revisionism is crazy. Do you remember that one season? I think it was when Leicester won. And Spurs kept up with them for a long time. And then Spurs dropped off. Arsenal went ahead of them on the last day, I believe. And then no one goes back and
the one season where Spurs, people still think of it as Spurs came second in a title race, but they actually came third.
Exactly. Because the day Leicester won it, Spurs were second, but the day their league ended, Spurs were in second. So it's how we look at it.
When a team wins it, though, because I remember there was a year where Arsenal won 10 games on the bounce. This was in the early 2000s, and they won the league. But there was still 4 or 5 games to go. But they had a good big gap over United to win it. But at the end of the season, they only actually finished 3 or 4 points ahead of us. But the title race actually ended 5-6 weeks ago because they'd won the league title. So it's hard to judge sometimes. This here from Dan, he says, I wonder what Staffy will think if our new CEO keeps Ten Hag. He wanted him at City after Pep and has said how good he is and can be. Structure.
That's why I said literally earlier in terms of before Ten Hag came to our job, we wanted him, United fans did, but even City and their group had looked at him after potentially Pep, and they looked at the way he done his thing at Ajax, the structure, and that's what I'm saying. Right now, they might look at it and say, we can give Ten Hag what he hasn't had. And I'm not saying that's the reason he's going to stay in the job, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate of why he might stay. And Dan's literally said exactly why I think like that.
But he's acting like Ten Hag was the only guy that ever wanted to replace Pep. I mean, De Zerbi is on their current list to replace Pep if he leaves. So what is the argument if actually De Zerbi comes in? That's 2 people, according to your logic, that are on the list. So
then you already have one of them. So then you might be willing to work with the one you already have.
No, but that's not my point. I'm just saying they could change him and get someone who's more recent. Because I'm pretty sure a club like City, every year they update their lists, not just for replacement for managers, for replacement in certain positions and certain players, because you never know what happens. What if Pep just wakes up one day, like Klopp said, he's like, you know what, I'm burnt out. They need to be ready with the most recent. Look at that. You would love that. I mean,
no,
I think we all would love.
I thought you were about to say, what if Pep dies one day? I'm so glad you didn't. I really thought that's what you were going to say. What if Pep... yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
I wouldn't wish that. Listen, as much as I want him to leave, I wouldn't wish for him to leave on that terms. I'm just saying he could actually just quit one day. You know, things happen. So I'm just saying clubs like that, they're usually ready with replacements, but these lists are usually updated. Like if they wanted a replacement for Pep, let's say they had a list from 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure
they
it's
might look at the
updated 3
Corona
years
manager
later.
Exactly.
I hear it.
Yeah, I agree. A halftime hook here says, wait, we're talking about baby Henri. Bring him to the carpet, is what he says here. Arsenal have to play Man United at Old Trafford in the second to last game. Could be an interesting end. # guard of honor. Could be a guard of honor, but Man United could also stop you winning the title. It could be an amazing game, that. It really could be.
Staffy,
that's a thing of beauty. Wrong. That is a thing of beauty. When the world,
the reason why this sits on my wall, there's a reason.
I like that
Staffy,
stuff.
that is
like
cool,
that.
man.
Imagine Mbappe joining Arsenal, and all these podcasts with narratives will start debating if he's world class or not. I can see it already. If he joins any Premier League club, that's 110% happening. It just would, because that's the way it is. I don't think it's feasible for Liverpool to get Mbappe with Klopp leaving. I agree. Spurs needed a point away at relegated Newcastle on the last day of the season to finish second. They lost 5-1.
Oh, that wonderful memory just came flooding back.
That's a thing of beauty. And City will smash us 3-0 and wishing Mark Bosnich a speedy recovery after going through emergency surgery. Yes, I did hear about Mark Bosnich, and I hope he gets well soon. If Mbappe goes to your club, what would be your plan? To score goals and win. I'll keep it basic. Keep it basic. Well, yeah, I wouldn't have him playing fullback or anything. Do you know what I mean?
We'll have him, and then we're still gonna need him in the last 10 minutes to score a header for us. I promise. Our plans don't change that much.
I want to thank everybody who's tuned in this evening. Please hit the like button before you leave and subscribe, and check out Match Bingo. It's an amazing, fun game to play on match days. You must be over the age of 18 and in the UK. And remember, lots of their proceeds go to supporting sufferers of Alzheimer's and their families. So it's a really good cause behind the scenes as well. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very